Well, Jeremy, I'm Bekah Berger from 92 Pro FM, and I have to tell you, this is so the Secret Mall apartment is so Rhode Island lore, and we are so excited about it. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm pumped. I mean, we're bringing this movie to Rhode Island and Providence specifically. And we just kind of like really wanted to really have the best venue and presentation of the movie in Providence. So we're feeling great.
How did you come to learn about the Secret Mall apartment?
Yeah, I knew nothing about it. I know it's like urban legend and, everything for everybody in Providence. I'm not from Providence. I'd certainly been to Providence a few times. I'd even like filmed a movie, part of a movie in Providence, but
What did
I
you
didn't
film here, Jeremy, prior
my
to this?
last documentary previously was a documentary called Lily Topples the World about the world's greatest domino toppler, Lily Hevish. And I made that into a feature documentary that, your listeners could watch on HBO Max. But she did all these incredible domino artworks in Warwick. And I was constantly like coming up to Warwick to film her there. It was just like really random because she's from New England. So I had been to Providence a lot, but I didn't really know anything about this like urban legend. I met Michael Townsend, the main subject and the main, the ringleader of the Secret Mall apartment. I met him in Greece. And I was filming for another documentary, and the building was covered in incredible tape art, masking tape art, which, anyone who hears this and sees the movie, they'll learn that Michael is this, like, the world's most foremost tape artist.
That's you could have done an entire documentary just on the tape art alone.
I know, but who knows about like tape art? Like who even knew that was a thing? And Michael does incredible tape art on the walls and facades of buildings. And the building that I was in Greece was covered in tape art. And I met Michael. And over the course of like many nights of hanging out, many drunken nights, he told me about the Secret Ball apartment. And I thought he was totally punking me and he was just pulling my leg.
I mean, it is like an anecdotal, funny dinner conversation. Like, hey, I lived in an apartment and it just happened to be at a mall with my closest friends. And oh, yeah, we have a ton of it on film. How much film did he? So I'm sorry. So you guys, so taking it back, you guys met and you make films, documentaries specifically. So how did it get to the next step?
I mean, I spent a year trying to convince him and all what I call the Mall Eight. These are the eight artists who secretly lived inside the Providence Place Mall from 2003 to 2007. And they all were kind of like reluctant to do a documentary. They had turned down other filmmakers that wanted to do a documentary and even like scripted versions of it. They had just turned down everything for years and years. So somehow I was able to convince the team to let me do it. And, here we are now with the movie.
Why did they turn it down? They just wanted to leave that piece behind of their lives? I mean, it's such a significant part of their lives. So why do you think it took you and this time to do it?
When they were doing The Secret Apartment, they weren't trying to get any publicity. They weren't trying to get notoriety. They were barely even telling anyone about this. This whole thing, kind of lived in the shadows for years and years. Even when I started making the movie, people were like, was that really true? Did that really happen? And it just seemed like it was the everybody involved had preferred that it kind of like had been this urban legend that nobody could really, verify. But I went to them and I just was like, look, this is such an interesting story. It's a story about Providence. It deals with gentrification and about what it means when the mall came in, and it touches all these other aspects about their work, which I found really interesting. They were doing all this incredible artwork at the same time they were in the secret apartment. So I sort of went at them and convince them that, we could do a movie about this and it would be about all kinds of stuff and it would have all kinds of, the context of the story and the back and the textures of the story. And they decided to give me a chance.
What is so unique, and we're talking to Jeremy Workman, and he is the director, producer, and the editor of Secret Mall Apartment. I think what documentaries, this separates it from a lot like it, is you have the actual footage. You have so much footage that they took. That must have taken a long time to go through.
Becca, it was so incredible. Like when they were in the secret apartment, okay, so they're in there for 4 years. Nobody knows about them. No security ever found them. They're sneaking in and out of the mall. They have all these different ways to get into the secret apartment. They have a front door, a back door, a side door. They know all the ins and outs. They know how security works, and they're doing it in a way where, your listeners might be like, oh, these guys sound like, criminals. They're not. They're like these, very kind of, they're artists with a lot of integrity. And they're really trying to sort of take a stand against all the stuff that was happening with the mall. So when they were in there, they were filming everything. They had these tiny cameras, literally like $100 consumer cameras that I think they bought at like the Radio Shack in the mall, and they were crappy. They were not like good cameras. They were filming, postage stamp size video. But yet all of them captured such incredible footage over the course of them building the apartment, living in it, bringing in furniture, constructing a wall, bringing in cinder blocks, and they captured it all on film. So it was just this incredible, like, bounty of footage that was at my fingertips to help tell the story.
And Jeremy, how did Jesse Eisenberg get involved in this whole thing?
Jesse Eisenberg, who, of course, a lot of your listeners know, he played Mark Zuckerberg in Social Network, and he, just had this incredible movie, A Real Pain, that was Oscar nommed. He's been a friend and a fan of my work for a while. He had previously produced another film of mine called The World Before Your Feet, which is about a guy who's walking every single street of New York City. So yes, I'm very interested in quirky subject matter, and the Secret
Yes, you
Mall
are.
apartment is
You have a
no.
brand.
Yeah, definitely. I have a little corner in the world of documentaries. But Jesse saw my I would tell him, I would like, I am working on the most insane movie yet. It's about these guys that live in the mall, and you got to see this footage. And I would send him links of some of the footage, and he just was like, "Oh my God, this is incredible." And he decided to kind of come on board as a producer. There's a funny Providence connection though with him in this story. When he was younger, he was in a movie that was filming in Providence called The Education of Charlie Banks.
I
And
remember.
you do?
Yes.
Okay. And when he was housed here in Providence for several weeks when they were making the movie, and production put him up in the complex called the
903.
903. You knew
Mhm.
this?
Oh, no, I just assumed when you said when you were making the connection, I knew where you were going with the
Yeah.
903.
So he lived in the 903. So for anyone listening, the 903 is one of these buildings that was built kind of in the shadow of the Providence Place Mall. And, it's a beautiful, beautiful complex, but it's also part of this story of like development and gentrification. So Jesse sort of had this sort of first person experience of living next to the mall and understanding how the mall really shape shifted that neighborhood. So it was very personal for him as well.
I was just gonna say, I mean, what are the chances? He definitely knew the plot as you're explaining what the deal is with the secret mall apartment. And I know we only have a few more minutes here. Selfishly, we here at 92 Pro FM loved that the documentary basically opens with some archived audio of 92 Pro FM.
Yeah, as they say in the movie, they were listening to the radio, and there was an ad that came on about, for the Providence Place Mall. And in the ad, somebody says, wouldn't it be great to live in a mall? And that inspired them to do this crazy stunt. And, of course, it had all this meaning for them. That it was a stance against gentrification, and it became this art project. But the initial sort of conception of it came out of them listening to the radio and hearing that ad. So we were really thrilled to find that archival bit from your radio station.
Yeah, we all geeked out about it here as well, and I just wanna say this one thing, I think that a lot of us, specifically here in Rhode Island, we thought one thing about the mall apartment and the 8, as you call them. I think that for years we thought, "Oh, these were just, like, RISD artsy-fartsy people living in an apartment, and they were going against the man." Like, there was just so many assumptions about what was really happening, but what I loved most about your film is that at the core, there's so much more and there's a lot of heart to this.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think that's what's a real surprise for people. You know, they go into this movie and they're like, okay, I'm going to watch this documentary and it's about a prank. And it's an incredible prank and the footage is incredible. But that only goes so far, you know? So, what's really been gratifying is how audiences are responding to when the movie goes into sort of this next texture, these next levels, and it gets into all this sort of charitable work that these people were doing, these artists were doing. You know, they were going into Hasbro Children's Hospital. They were doing artwork for in the cancer ward, and they were doing this voluntarily for no notoriety, and they were doing that at the same time they were in the secret mall apartment. And there's all these sort of things that they were doing that are just kind of inspiring and kind of, you know, make you say, yeah, wow, I didn't expect to see this from this crowd, or I didn't expect this movie was going to go in this direction. And that's been really one of the best things about this experience, is kind of bringing that out.
It certainly tells a story I know that me as a native Rhode Islander, I had no idea about, and it really opened my eyes to what was really happening at the Secret Mall apartment. Jeremy, thank you so much. We're so excited for Secret Mall apartment to hit select theaters on March 21st.
More
Appreciate it.
than that, it's coming to the Providence. It's playing at the Providence Place Mall, so everybody should come out. We'll be there. Come find us, and we're just really thrilled to, you know, that the community in Providence is embracing it and is excited about it, and we're really pumped to share it with everybody.
We are too. Thank you, Jeremy.
Thanks so much.